But now this is a live TV moment to remember for an entirely different reason. How these people got so excited for what was tantamount to fake news. Major fake news about Donald Trump and Mueller yesterday, to which I unwittingly participated. ABC News reported that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed Michael Flynn to contact the Russians. To many people, this was more evidence that collusion had occurred. That if he was a candidate, if Donald Trump was a candidate saying get in touch with the Russians, then it's entirely possible these meetings took place in the way that people describe them, that he was trying to work with the Russians to get elected. But guess what? ABC News, their report was absolutely 100% false. And did they issue a correction? No. They waited until 6:30 p.m. to issue what they called a clarification. The tweet in question read, "Just in, Brian Ross on ABC News special report, Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians." Which is just not true, because the actual story, the clarification they called it, was that after Donald Trump was elected, he ordered Flynn to be his point person on Russian negotiations and to contact Russia to start talking about a strategy for dealing with ISIS, which is entirely normal and you would expect a president-elect to start doing. Now again, they called it a clarification, right? So at 10:53 p.m., they tweeted a correction, finally, due to the criticism from so many journalists and many people who were upset. And they said, "Correction of ABC News special report. Flynn prepared to testify that President-elect Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians during the transition, initially as a way to work together to fight ISIS in Syria," Confidant now says. And the official correction statement, it's an image which elaborates a little further, says, "During a live special report, ABC News reported that a confidant of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn said Flynn was prepared to testify that then candidate Donald Trump instructed him to contact Russian officials during the campaign. That source later clarified that during the campaign, Trump assigned Flynn and a small circle of other senior advisors to find ways to repair relations with Russia and other hotspots. It was shortly after the election that President-elect Trump directed Flynn to contact Russian officials on topics that included working jointly against ISIS." I will tell you this, as somebody who works in media, very few people will ever see that correction. And we know this. Every single time someone puts out a report, the report goes much further than the correction ever would. The old saying goes that the lie travels halfway around the world before the truth has strapped on his boots. And so these corrections, while thank you, right? We're grateful that you're willing to make the correction. It's not going to be effective. But in this instance, I'm going to criticize ABC News a little bit more heavily because they didn't even correct initially. They waited till 6:30 p.m. to issue a clarification.
And David, a clarification tonight on something one of Flynn's confidants told us and we reported earlier today. He said the president had asked Flynn to contact Russia during the campaign. He's now clarifying that, saying, according to Flynn, candidate Trump asked him during the campaign to find ways to repair relations with Russia and other hotspots. And then after the election, the president-elect asked him and told him to contact Russia on issues, including working together to fight ISIS. David.
With so many people distrustful of the mainstream media, when Donald Trump goes up time and time again and says the fake news and they're dishonest, you've got people on the left who hate Trump, who criticize Trump for saying this, but then what does ABC News do? This is not a minor gaffe. This is a serious charge, and this correction needed to come out immediately. You are now going to have tens of millions of people who genuinely believe there is more evidence that Trump colluded with Russians. Now here's the dark humor. Following the breaking news on The View, Joy Behar read a cue card, the breaking news about what happened with Michael Flynn and the false report. And look at the reaction.
Welcome back to the show.
Breaking news.
Oh my God. Oh, breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yes!
They're clapping and cheering and they're happy, and this scares me. I understand that you don't like Donald Trump, but cheering for corruption at the highest level of the government it's not a good thing. You can have a positive outlook, right? Let's say you don't like Donald Trump. Let's say you believe the Russian collusion happened, and it may have. We're not there yet. You can look at this and say, this is a serious problem. My God, it's true. It's the kind of thing where when you realize it's true, you say, wow, this is much worse than we thought. You shouldn't be clapping and cheering and screaming and hooting, woohoo, the government's in danger of collapsing, our presidency is in the death throes. No, you can be grateful that we're going to see some positive change, that we can resolve some of these problems, but the response actually startles me. Now, this reporting was false, so it's even more startling that people are having this reaction. But here's one of my favorite results of all of this. BuzzFeed. They put out a story, Joy Behar finding out about Flynn's guilty plea on The View is a live TV moment to remember. She literally throws her cue card out of excitement. At the time of this story, I'm sure this was a live TV moment to remember. That people assumed they would look back on this in the annals of history and say, wow, that was the moment where we knew Trump was ordering his staff to do this, to collude with the Russians. And you can see the TV host like, whoa, throwing the card in the air. But now this is a live TV moment to remember for an entirely different reason. How these people got so excited for what was tantamount to fake news. In the BuzzFeed article, you can see people tweeting, historic and iconic. Put this in a museum. My heart has never been this full. The audience is cheering like Oprah left keys to new cars under all of their seats. On The View, co-host Anna Navarro said, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas and it's beginning to look a lot like collusion. Meghan McCain said, it was a good moment for Democrats, but she doesn't want the country to become more polarized. Not to be the Debbie Downer, but if this somehow leads to indictment, the country is going to rip itself apart and that's not good for America. It should lead to resignation, Behar responded, to thunderous applause. I remember Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon stepped down and so should Donald Trump. Now what? Now that this story was absolutely fake, that these people who watch The View are going to believe this and are not going to see the correction. I doubt 10%, in my opinion, will even see the correction to know that this is not true. And you want to know why this makes me particularly mad? Because I trusted ABC News. Keep in mind, I worked for an ABC News affiliate, a joint venture between ABC News and Univision called Fusion. Now, I actually have a corporate ABC News badge from the same building The View is in. When the ABC News reported, I tend to trust them more than many other networks. You know, MSNBC is partisan, Fox is partisan, CNN is just weird. ABC News, pretty good. They're not so bad. And this is a huge screw up. A tweet that went semi-viral from Beckett Adams. This video of Joy Behar cheering the Flynn news this morning is a good case study for how partisans disseminate information. She has only the smallest, most basic idea of what has happened, and she treats it as a game changer. Anyway, you wonder how fake news spreads? Watch. Now, it's not just the political ramifications, there's actually economic ramifications, according to CNN Money. At one point, the Dow plunged 350 points after ABC News reported that Flynn is prepared to testify that President Trump, quote, as a candidate, directed him to make contact with Russians. So let's think about this for a second. Joy Behar of The View, the thunderous applause, because Donald Trump ordered Flynn to make contact with the Russians. Now, they misrepresented that by saying as a candidate, ABC News did, and that trickled down to many other facets of our culture, The View, for instance, and now people are going to believe that. But let's look at what the actual fact was. That Donald Trump wanted Flynn to repair relations with Russia and other hotspots, and that they were talking about dealing with ISIS. This is the problem with fake news. You know, fake news doesn't just mean made-up stories, it means a lot of things. It's kind of a catch-all term for generally bad reporting or fictitious stories. And now, what actually happened was pretty good. But the way it was shared from partisans makes it seem like Trump did something wrong, when in reality, talking about working together with Russia to defeat ISIS, I think most people would agree is a good thing. I apologize to all of those who watched my video yesterday because I used their reporting too, and I'll be careful, but the truth is, we're not invincible. Nobody is. I'm not immune and no one else is. I can only do my best. And it's something a lot of us have known for a long time. We can't necessarily trust any media, even the mainstream big companies. There's a lot of reasons to distrust mainstream companies. As I said earlier, MSNBC, Fox News are partisan, so you're gonna trust or distrust them based on how you lean politically. CNN has made weird reporting in the past, which I've criticized them for, like the black hole Malaysian airplane thing. But typically, we have to imagine that a company with credibility, with a proven track record, is going to be at least slightly more credible than smaller blogs and other viral posts on Facebook. But when something as bad as this happens, and they don't correct, they clarify, and they wait several hours to do so, who are we supposed to trust? And this is making things particularly difficult for all of us. And people are drawing the lines down. They're drawing the party lines. They're going to say, you know what? I'm on this side, you're on that side, period. It doesn't matter what's true, because we can only choose to trust somebody. And that's the end of it. We don't know who's actually right, who's actually wrong. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. If you want to follow me for breaking news and live streams from around the world, I'm on Twitter at Timcast. If you want to support my work, you can go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. And if you've made it this far, make sure you subscribe to my second channel in the description below, because this is a backup channel. With censorship and demonetization, it's important that I have an alternative in case something bad happens to this channel. I will have a second channel. It's also an opportunity for me to make more content, to make jokes, irreverent stuff. So make sure you subscribe to there if you're into it. And thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.